Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man. This is part 3 of our Adeptus Custodes. Basically, been working on them now for about 18 and a half hours. I have the majority of the black done. Just have a couple more spots to go through and do next. And then I will switch over to either the silver or the red next. Possibly do like some washes on some of the hair or some of the faces and stuff, and just start making some progress on the smaller details. But overall, coming along pretty well. It's obviously a grind at this point in time. The Leadbelcher is going to be a pretty big grind too, as there's quite a bit of silver and then red. But after that, we'll really just be getting down to the fine details. But I just want to do a little update. It's not a ton to see in these stages. May do the leather next. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, so basically finished up the black. There may be a couple little random spots. I may do a couple spots on the tank. But overall, looking good. Going to go through now and just start picking out some random details and taking care of a couple of just little bits here and there. And then probably just going to move on to like the next long step. So there's not a ton of other red that I need to do. I did the majority of it already with the spray, but there's a few places like Trajan's cloak and the cloak on the shield captain, and there's not really much to that. I'm just gonna go through and I basically took my darker red and I'm just gonna go through and put a nice coating of that on everything. Just be real careful of all the gold that we took all the time to make look nice. We obviously want to be working forward and not backwards. If we're going to make any mistakes, we want to make them towards areas that either are not going to be visible or that we haven't painted yet. That way we're not messing up any of the stuff that we painted nicely. So just going to go through and do all that and pick out some of these just different little details as we go, and then we'll go on to the next bit. Alright, so there we've got those last few decals blocked out in the red there. Just did like the cape and cape on Trajan as well. And then went through and already did the turret here, as you can see. And then a couple panels on the tank there. And I'm just going to do the last couple here. And you can do 1 or 2 coats if you need to. It's all about just getting good coverage. And it depends obviously like what kind of paint you're using, how much you water it down, how old your paints are. There's a lot of factors, so it's all up to you. I would prefer like to get a silky smooth finish. I like to water it down just a little bit more, and then if I have to do 2 coats, I can, and that's not an issue. So all we're gonna do is I like to try to work all the paint in the same direction, but you want to get like into the edges like from that direction there. So I try to angle my paintbrush towards the edge that I'm trying to block out, and then I just let it flow along that edge there, just kind of fill in the gap for me. And then while I have it here, I'll do this other little bit because it's available at that same angle. And then as I sort of flip it around now, I'll put it at a convenient area and just be very careful about where I place my hand in this part right here, because I don't want to touch any of the areas I've already painted. And once again, you'll see I'm not really using like a detail brush or anything right here. I'm using a larger brush, so it'll carry like a lot more paint, and I can cover a lot more area without having to go back and get more paint, and I can keep it a little bit more watered down also, and that way I get like that smooth silky finish for the decals to go on top of and everything. And just so it looks nice and not all chunky when you're finished. And then after you basically gone around and done your outline, then you're just going to go and fill out the rest of it. And you'll notice that I'm using the brush strokes all in the same direction. And then that way I'll get that nice finish. And then if I need to, I can go back and do another coat if it's showing through too much of the metallics. And again, that's up to your discretion. Some people prefer to just use a little thicker of a paint and not have to ever go back and do that second coat. I prefer the other way around. I would rather thin it a little bit more because it leads to like a better finish in the end, I think, to just do a second coat over top. And most of the time you don't even have to do it everywhere. It's usually just like one or two little spots where it's evident. And again, just be careful where you grab it at. And this initial step right here, where you're blocking out colors, this is really like, you know, the most intricate portion. Most of the rest of it is very relaxed. And now because it's more natural to finish this way, I'm going to do there you go, see, we get that silky smooth finish as it's drying. Again, just be very careful where you're grabbing it at, wherever you've already painted. A trick I use in the little corners is if you just sort of twist your brush just a little bit, like clockwise or counterclockwise, it'll kind of help that point kind of reform wherever the brush is at, and just kind of get down in the crack a little bit better. And again, it's natural. We're just going to finish this up going this way. And you'll see coming again over top the metallic there, there's most likely going to be a couple areas where I will need to do more than one coat. Alright, so we're making very nice progress now. Basically took care of the majority of the red and black on just about everything. And now we're just going to go through and do our leather bits. So for this, I'm going to be using our Rhinox hide. And went ahead and just watered it down a little bit, and essentially I'm just looking for like that dark leathery look. So I'm just going to go through and do all the bits that are going to be leather, like the little bits in between their waist like this, or like the little areas on their gloves and things like that, boots on the bikers, and basically just go through and get a nice coat of leather on everything. Alright, so now we're just going to do the same thing on the bikers, and I'm just going to do the seat here in leather. So once again, just going to go through, got it watered down just a little bit. Just going to go through and get a nice coverage over the seat. And any other bits you want to do in leather there. Alright, we got all the seats done on the bikes. Now we just want to do like the I don't know what you would call it. I guess like the leather on the gauntlets there. So we're just gonna go, and I do like the part over top the hand too. And then you can do it either way. Either like paint the buckles back on afterwards, or just paint around them when you do the leather. Either way. But you just do the back side, and then make sure that you get the underside as well. And I skip like the little like elbow pad right there. So alright, so that's all our brown done. There is quite a few guys though where after you paint in the leather, there's still like a little piece of like the cloth or rope or whatever you want to call it. In this case we're gonna make that red. So I'm just gonna go through and like pick out those little details on everybody as well. So alright, so we did officially pass the 24-hour period. Got all the black, brown, and like the red touch-ups done, and then went through and started on the silver. Got quite a bit already done on the silver. Just some of like the little accents for all the shoulder pads, and then went through and did like the faces as well on all the heads. And all the custodian guard and the regular terminators, Equilin terminators, are done. Well, silver wise and everything. I still have to do like the actual like weapon glow and all that. Basically, this whole side is all done up to the silver. So I need to do silver on all this stuff still. So I'm just going through, working through everything. There's quite a bit to do on the bikes and the tank. Well, there's still a decent amount to do on everything, but we're at that 24-hour period. Definitely made some nice progress. Was hoping to have it finished by now, but realistically, this is probably close to a 3,000 point army. So, that was probably like a little ambitious to begin with, but I'm gonna keep going through and getting that silver done and see where we're at in a little bit here.